Welcome to another Raffles podcast with the wonderful Gary Dugan, CEO of the CIO office, former managing director of JP Morgan, and an authority on all things economic. Gary, welcome.
Hello. Good to be with you, Simon.
It's always good of you to take time out to talk to we folk. I recall that the last time we spoke, which is about 2 months ago, we spoke in an atmosphere of considerable uncertainty. And your view, if I can summarize it, was that there was considerable uncertainty around the impacts of Trump's tariffs on business in Southeast Asia, particularly, but not only in China. That equities were at that time in quite bad shape as a result of the uncertainty. But that your view was based on the data you had that even in a worst case scenario, it was unlikely that growth in Southeast Asia would be impacted by more than about 0.4%. So I guess taking that as a departure point, are we better off or worse off?
We're better off because we're getting used to the uncertainty. It's maybe more certain uncertainty. I don't know.
We're getting
It's
used to the suffering.
we're getting used to the noise, and we're also getting used to not taking it at face value when we first hear it, and we wait and pause and we wait to see how things develop. But to cut to the chase on this, Simon, the numbers are not that bad. When I look at the developing Asia now, we're looking at a growth rate this year of 4.7. Now, we're going to have a bit of an impact next year for sure from all the noise that we've seen, and we'll go down to 4.6. But those are some of the strongest growth numbers in the world. I mean, we're looking at ones and twos everywhere else. And if I take Asia Pacific in its aggregate, the IMF's now expecting around about 4% growth for this year. That's down from a vibrant 4.6% in 2024, but it's still a good outcome when you consider the backdrop.
Yes, and I mean, comparing it to anywhere else in the world, it's no accident that you and I have long based ourselves in this region. You up in Dubai and me down in Singapore. And of course, you were in Singapore for a long time as well. So this is still the right place to be.
Indeed, it is. It's number one, you've got population growth. Number two, you've still got a lot of things to do that the developed world has done 100 years ago. So, there's always an opportunity for growth and there's always an opportunity for optimism.
Okay. Do you see any areas that are particularly promising?
I think once we get past some of the noise, and maybe this morning it's at a peak again in terms of the fallout with India and the conversations with China. But look, if we look forward, central bankers in many parts of Asia still have the scope to cut interest rates. The policymakers at government level have the scope to spend some money and give some kind of warm, fuzzy, good feel to the industry sector. And I think, what we're also seeing is that we're seeing more vibrancy in countries outside the United States talking to each other and wanting to work with
Yeah.
each other. And that is all good news. So I still see that I hope we're close to the bottom. And I think once we know exactly, if we can, what those tariff numbers are, we'll work with them and Asia will respond and the policymakers will give some support.
Yes. Okay. Good. I think that's interesting. I think the picture on tariffs, and I've been engaged in a hot debate with a professor in America. Is there a direct link between consumer prices and tariffs? Not necessarily. This can go in all sorts of ways. I am mindful of the fact that during Trump's first term, he got quite aggressive with tariffs, but actually there was very little consumer price inflation in the US, mainly because stuff coming in from China. And by all means, push me back here, but China used their mercantilist approach basically to further devalue the renminbi so that they got fewer dollars for their goods, but at the end of the day, it didn't cost a whole hell of a lot more for the US consumer. I mean, that's probably correct, isn't it? Um,
In very broad terms, I think there still will be some kind of
yeah.
impact. But and most important thing is that we kept talking about inflation going up almost across the world because the assumption was that everyone would fight the Americans with their own tariffs on American
Hmm.
goods. By and large, that's not happening. So the country with the inflation problem is the US. We see less problems outside the United States.
Yes, I mean, part of the reason for that, and as you know, you and I sort of differ slightly on how we feel about the current administration, is when you make a list of the US's main trading partners, pretty well all of them have higher tariffs on things they're importing from the US than has been the case the other way around, which is kind of Trump's main argument. Well, leaving aside the rights or the wrongs of it. So it is settling down a little bit, but it could take a bit longer. And China and India, who after all are pretty significant economies, there continues to be a great deal of uncertainty. Do you see the impact of uncertainty on India as being negative or beneficial for those of us parked in Southeast Asia?
I think it's negative in the near term. I don't think this was anticipated. I think the Indians thought they were in Trump's camp, that they were good mates. And it's interesting that I've seen over the last 48 hours that India is turning its head to the east and saying, where can we find friends? And there's a very important meeting coming up on the 30th of August, where it looks like Xi Jinping is going to meet Modi. So we could be seeing some very almost the movement of tectonic plates here
Yeah.
in terms of realignment of
I
geopolitics.
mean, it's not long since they were in a shooting war, so I'm not holding my
Indeed.
breath where that's concerned. Um, well, I do hope they work things out because you're right, it does look rather strange because Trump was making nice with Modi only a couple of months ago. Vance was there talking about with his children, talking about how important the unity is, but that's Trump. Trump sort of deliberately escalates, blows things up in order to come up with a better deal. So you're still persistently positive, Gary. Is there anything I can do to shake your positivity? Could it get worse in any way?
Well, I'm being constructive, because this is a massive a realignment going on. It's a massive challenge to normal order. So there is going to be a cost to it. It's going to be higher unemployment in certain places. There will be more inflation than we thought. But, if you think of yesterday, for example, the Reserve Bank of India didn't move interest rates, and they're at 5.5%. They have scope to probably cut back to 4. In China, that government still has a lot of initiatives that it can push through to support the country. So,
Yes.
as I said, I think things have been shaken up for sure. I agree with you in certain respects. President Trump is challenging the past and saying, "Look, this doesn't sound right to me," and it probably wasn't right. Then it needed writing. So I take a positive view that they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
moving in the right direction.
And the problem with the writing, RIGHT, is that because of the way the American electoral cycle works, he's not been able to be certain that he would even have half of a one term to do it in, because if he loses the midterms, then he's incapacitated. So he's going in a hell of a hurry. Let's hope it does work out, and let's hope it works out positively to everybody. Any particular perspectives on little old Singapore, where I've made my home for 32 years? As we celebrate 60 years, is it up? Is it up? Is it down? What do you think? Is Tom good for
I,
us?
I think it's still extremely relevant. I mean, I think Singapore's head is probably spinning with where does the power base lie around the world? Where are the kind of movements going to happen? But I do think, look, really, it's still one of the most omnipotent Eastern financial centers. And if there's something that is, I'm hearing from every conversation, literally every conversation moment, capital is moving east. And
Yeah,
Singapore will be a hub for that. And I think, to be honest, Singapore has got to just step itself up
yeah.
by having some of the best investment banks, the best private banks. And it needs to be more confident that it can play that role in the future.
Bill Padfield, whom you know very well, who is a tech maven and who is currently through Salamander Associates working mainly with Series A and Series B tech early stage companies, says that there's been a significant slowdown in the ability of tech companies, smaller tech companies, to get funding because of uncertainty. Is that broadly true across the whole of the money market, or is that just specifically to do with startups, Gary? What are you seeing?
No, it's across the world, and what has happened is that the kind of world is frozen over in the VC and PE world. So, if you put your money in, let's say 5 years ago, into a certain good idea, even if it may be looking as if it's kind of valued and well and giving you a good return, trying to extract your money at the moment is it's very difficult. So we're not getting that turnover of the capital, which means that fresh ideas are not getting funded because the old ideas which have matured have still not given the money back.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, by the way, we're definitely going to use your statement of a moment ago that the world has frozen over because that should at the very least irritate the thousands and thousands of climate alarmists who think we're all about to burst into flames. I don't think Singapore, a bit of ice wouldn't hurt Singapore to be perfectly honest. It's as hot as it's ever been. Gary, any final thoughts? So let's just say for our audience, and thank you for staying with us. Do subscribe to this. We'll be putting out some actual numbers, Gary, next week.
Indeed, yeah, yeah, because
Um,
I've some refreshed forecasts.
yeah, brilliant. And we are grateful as ever for Gary for his partnership with us. He's CEO of the CIO office. Very good friends of the Raffles crew. We want to keep providing you with up-to-date perspectives on what's going on in our region, the fastest growing region in the world, even now. And if you have specific questions for Gary or for me, do reach out. We'll provide you with a QR code that you can reach us at. And if you're in Singapore, come join the Raffles crew. Gary Dugan, any final words before we
It's getting better, even if it doesn't feel that it is. I think we're going to get to the end of this tariff thing, and then we can look forward to growth, and we can look forward to cutting interest rates. That's not a bad backdrop.
Brilliant. Well, I've just yes, absolutely. I love a positive ending. So let's leave it there, Gary. Thank you very much. I look forward to re-engaging with you in the next couple of weeks for a slightly more detailed discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.